In a small village nestled between dark hills and dense forests, there was a legend about the undead who roamed the night. The villagers avoided going out after sunset, fearing the spirits said to wander the streets in search of the living. One dark night, a young girl named Layla decided to challenge this legend. She didn't believe in superstitions and thought the stories were just meant to scare children. Armed with her oil lantern and her courage, she stepped out of her house. The wind howled, and the trees made eerie noises as if whispering dark secrets. Layla felt a chill run through her veins, but kept walking. Suddenly, she heard footsteps behind her. She stopped, turned around, but saw no one. She resumed walking, her pace quickening as the sounds grew closer. When she reached the old cemetery on the edge of the village, she felt something grab her foot. Looking down, she saw a pale white hand emerging from the ground. She screamed and tried to run, but more hands appeared and grabbed her. Bodies began to rise from the graves, their empty eyes glowing with a strange light. Layla tried to scream for help, but her voice was swallowed by the night. The undead surrounded her, closing in slowly. She felt a cold hand grip her shoulder, then she fell into a whirlpool of darkness. The next morning, the villagers found Layla's broken lantern near the cemetery, but there was no trace of her. Since that day, no one dared to go out at night, and Layla's story spread as a warning to anyone who might challenge the legend. Some say that on dark nights, her screams can still be heard, a reminder that legends might hold a grain of truth. Years passed, and the village fell into a deeper silence each night. Layla's disappearance became a cautionary tale, whispered among the villagers with a mix of fear and reverence. The cemetery, now overgrown with vines and moss, was a place no one dared to visit. However, curiosity often lingers in the hearts of the young. One night, a group of teenagers, emboldened by youthful arrogance and seeking adventure, decided to uncover the truth about Layla's fate. Among them was a boy named Amir. Amir's grandmother had told him stories of the old legends. "There's no such thing as the undead," Amir declared, holding a flashlight. His friends nodded in agreement, though unease flickered in their eyes. As they approached the cemetery, the air grew colder. An unnatural stillness surrounded them. The moonlight cast eerie shadows on the old tombstones, and the rustling of leaves sounded like whispered warnings. They reached the spot where Layla's lantern had been found. Amir, determined to prove his point, began to dig. His friends watched nervously, their bravado fading. Suddenly, Amir's shovel hit something hard. He bent down and uncovered an old, rusted box. With trembling hands, he opened it to find a worn journal. The pages were yellowed with age, and the ink was faded. They could still make out Layla's handwriting. The journal detailed her last moments, her encounter with the undead, and a chilling revelation: the undead were not mere spirits but cursed villagers, trapped between life and death, seeking a way to break their curse. As Amir read aloud, the ground beneath them began to tremble. The teenagers looked around in panic, their flashlights flickering. One by one, pale hands began to emerge from the ground, just as Layla had described. "We have to go," one of Amir's friends shouted. It was too late. The undead were rising, their hollow eyes fixed on the intruders. Amir tried to remember the words from Layla's journal, hoping to find a way to appease the spirits. He stumbled upon a passage that mentioned an ancient ritual to free the cursed souls. Desperately, he and his friends began to follow the instructions, chanting the words written in the journal. As they chanted, the undead paused, their ghostly forms wavering. The air grew colder, and the ground seemed to pull them back.